Xbox and PlayStation have both come together to bring Halo to Helldivers with the new announcement of this new Warbond. Plenty of people had questions that community managers were answering in the official Discord regarding the new Legendary Halo ODST Warbond. So we have some questions and answers that we will be looking at regarding some of the details of this. Also, there was a slight miscommunication the other day that the new SMG was two-handed. It was an incorrect answer we got from a community manager who later clarified this mistake. And we also have some community feedback we'll be taking a look at and first reactions to this legendary set of either how excited people are or any sort of doubts people may be having. I also have some of the weapons and armor renders that Arrowhead Studios sent over to me, so we get to take a closer, more detailed look at the cosmetic look of these weapons. So the first screenshot I'll show you guys is just the community manager Baskinator when she answered and said that the new SMG was two-handed. This was a mistake of an answer. She later clarified it was one-handed. She just got told some misleading info. It was just a mistake. It happens, but I just wanted to bring it up because anybody who saw the message of it being two-handed the other day, don't worry about that. It is a one-handed SMG just like all the others. Next, let's go over some of the basic details of this Warbond. So first up is that the premium token coming out with Super Citizen Edition. Normally you used to just get Steeled Veterans, but they switched this over to a Warbond token. Because we have so many Warbonds in the game now, it's not going to be working on any sort of legendary crossover Warbonds. Now, the reason for this is that the legendary Warbonds and the crossovers, they cost a little bit more, whether it's licensing or just more work going into them. They cost a little more than normal Warbond, so of course the token that can redeem you a regular Warbond isn't going to be working for it. Another small interesting thing is there's no super credits in this Warbond, so somebody asked, will there still be the 100 super credit pickups that you can buy for a few medals? None of that sort of stuff in this one. These Warbonds do have a premium pricing, and 1,500 super credits is a perfectly fine price in my opinion. And these Warbonds will be permanent additions. It will always be available. Now, this is a much better system because when we had our first crossover Warbond, the Killzone collaboration, those were Superstore pages, and we haven't gotten to see those yet. Now, luckily, someone asked the CEO, Shams Georgiani, will the Killzone crossover come back as a legendary Warbond? And he did a fingers crossed emoji, and then later clarified that they are working on repackaging it. They lack a bit of store functionality right now. And basically someone said, if I own some of the items from Killzone, how would a legendary Warbond work for unlocking the rest? And that is the functionality that's being figured out. And we're not really here to talk about Killzone. I just figured some of you might want to know when that gear is coming back. But also, it seems like any sort of collaboration or crossovers will be in this new Legendary Warbond format. Now, the next few messages here are going to be a little bit disappointing for some. There is no customization options that are going to come out with any sort of Killzone, Halo, any collab gear is not going to have any customization options. Now, some people have speculated that this may be due to licensing. They have to keep the guns as accurate to the games they come from as possible. Personally, I do wish that there were customization for these. You know, looking at that new shotgun in the Warbond, the first thing I'm going to want to do with it is level it up and get a full choke with it, but that won't be possible. But let's say they do another collab in the future. My feedback would be ask them if you can do customization. With that being said, though, some people were wondering if there were any Superstore items attached, and Baskinator answered and said this Warbond has no Superstore items attached to it. So everything we saw in the trailer and the blog post is what we are getting. Now, another user asked about Superstore, but also will there be any surprises, like a Halo stratagem maybe coming free to the game, kind of like we got with the Wasp for Killzone. And Mitchimus answered and just plainly said, no more Halo surprises. Now, maybe he's just telling the truth, but also if there was a surprise, would they really tell us if there was one? Probably not. But, you know, don't get your hopes too high that there might be some more Halo stuff coming out. I would just assume everything we saw is everything we're getting. And if there ends up being another surprise, that would be pretty cool. So next up, we have some info on the armor sets. Someone asked how heavy were the armor sets, and they're both medium armor sets. Now, I'll be honest, neither of these armors really look like a heavy armor, but I could see the blue one as being a light armor, but I guess they decided for both of them to be medium. Now, of course, people will be disappointed by this because we have our light armor junkies who just want to run around fast, and we also also have our heavy armor Giga Chads who love walking through and being tankier than the rest of their teammates. With that being said, I do just hope they buff medium armor one day. It definitely is in a spot where it doesn't feel, it kind of feels as weak as light armor sometimes, but you don't get that movement speed bonus. So hopefully they give medium armor a slight buff, and then it might just be the best option and we'll be happy we got 2 of them. So next up is some more details about the guns, and Baskinator answered a question about the armor pen of them, and she simply listed them all out for us nice and neatly. The SMG, the pistol, and the shotgun are all light pen, and the AR is medium penetration. Now, in the trailer, they also showed sort of like a HUD screenshot where the assault rifle had 32 rounds, the SMG had 48 rounds, and I think the shotgun had 6 rounds. I will edit that stuff in. I'm doing that from memory, but they both all had, kind of small mag sizes. The SMG has a decent mag size, but the AR has one of the smaller mag sizes at 32. I think the Tenderizer has 35. So this new assault rifle will have the smallest magazine size, and the shotgun is a pump shotgun with only 6 rounds loaded into it. So even though it's light pen, hopefully it gets some really, really mean damage, and we will be talking about the armor penetration of these weapons in part of the feedback sections. So next we did get some pushback by someone saying get the Halo logo off of the Warbond. I guess some people will just be unhappy about this. Personally, I think the Halo Warbond is really cool. I love seeing some of the Halo gear that I played with in my childhood being added back to Helldivers 2. And I did see a meme of all the Halo unks booting up Helldivers with their nephews, and that one spoke to me. Okay, my nephew's only 2 years old right now, and my other nephew's like not even 1 yet. But when they get a little bit older, I'm definitely going to be bringing over Helldivers for them. But Baskinator responded and said, I understand if you don't like the Warbond, that's okay. They are not obligatory to purchase or use, but the ODST Warbond is something we're very proud to give our players, and it's a great way to usher in this new era of PC, PS5, and Xbox cooperation between us. The Ministry of Defense team worked hard on these weapons, and they fit and feel great in Helldivers 2. So basically what her response was touching on was that it's not meant to break immersion. They really tried to fit these into the game. And honestly, I think most people will just agree with me that ODST fits very well into the universe of Helldivers. I would have really liked to see a Gears of Warbond. That was the Xbox collab that I wanted the most. But with that being said, Halo is awesome, and they do fit really well into the game. I don't think they break any immersion. Now, another thing they got pushed back on was a few people, I'm sure, in the main Discord were commenting on the price of 1,500 super credits versus 1,000. And the CEO of Worm Milk responded in the Discord and said, I don't think a lot of people complaining understand you have to pay for licensing. It's kind of funny, honestly. And the CEO, Shams, commented and said, and more work as we have to collaborate and get approvals from the great team over at Halo Studios. Great to work with, but more iteration than with our own stuff. Just part of the normal process for licensed stuff. So not only do they have to pay for licensing, Halo may be getting a cut of every Warbond that sells, or maybe because you could farm super credits in game, they have some other deal going on, whatever it may be. But they also do have to get approval for some of the gear, like if the assault rifle doesn't look like the ODST version, they probably have to send it to them. And then the Halo team will be like, hey, you gotta fix the stock just slightly. And there's more work that goes into this stuff. Personally, especially when the first Killzone set came out and it was $20 per page, 1,500 super credits in a game where you can just gain super credits over time. You don't have to buy any of this stuff. I think 1,500 is a completely fair price, especially given that, like I said, you can farm super credits. I really don't have much to say about this. I just think 1,500 is a perfectly fine price. But if for some reason you're not excited about the Halo Legendary Warbond coming, which is perfectly fine, you don't have to be, especially if you didn't grow up playing Halo. But luckily, Baskinator responded to someone and said, this Warbond is outside of our regular Warbond release cadence, so keep your eyes on the skies. Now, I feel like this implies that a second Warbond is coming, but I guess the Halo Warbond would be the second Warbond. A normal Warbond is coming out, so next week, is 6 weeks from the last Warbond. Today's Thursday. There was no trailer for a Warbond next week, but in 1 week is exactly 6 weeks from the last one, and that is about their normal cadence. Now, sometimes it's 4 weeks, but usually it's at least 6 weeks, and sometimes it's 8 weeks. With that being said, though, if you're not excited for this Warbond or you don't want to spend 1,500 super credits, keep your eyes on the skies. I'm pretty sure this message is implying that another Warbond is coming out. And touching on another Warbond coming out, Baskinator mentioned we usually do the Superstore editions when we release premium Warbonds, so the next premium Warbond will add more Superstore items. And then finally on this topic of the next Warbond, Baskinator answered another question saying this Legendary Warbond is a crossover, but premium Warbonds will continue. I've seen the next premium Warbond and it's awesome. Now again, this just implies that at least the next Warbond is more theory crafted. Of course, you could say that maybe this message isn't implying that it's done, but I would assume that, you know, it's at least in its final stages of like balancing or tinkering. Like if she's seen the next premium Warbond, then it's got to be pretty close to done. Okay, so finally, last little bit of news. Someone asked Shams if the next update will be a performance update, and he responded. He said, I get asked this a lot, and we're not planning on any dedicated only performance updates. The way we work is that for every content update, we also try to get fixes and performance improvements in there. Lately, we've not been good enough at the hardening process of the updates. Plus, the mountain of technical debt is ever looming, making performance tougher. For the upcoming updates, we're taking a bit of extra care on performance and stability. We won't fix everything overnight, but it's definitely a focus. Now, this one is one that definitely needs to happen. Of course, they don't do any dedicated performance updates, but hopefully, since they've gotten back from vacation, they've been focusing on making the game less stuttery and whatnot. The last big patch in the game added a lot of like pretty mean stutters that, you know, this is why people have been asking about performance updates a lot. Okay, so the final message we'll take a look at before we look at the weapon renders, and we'll also look at a bit of an interview from the Ministry of Defense's Alexis about light pen weapons. Baskinator said one of the Ministry of the Defense team, Alex, discussed the use of light armor pen in an interview, and basically the message she was responding to said, if I recall correctly, Bask did say light penetration should be viewed as the standard and the average. Everything above it has some weakness or trade-off. Well, 3 out of 4 of the Halo guns are light penetration, and I think this is where most of the community feedback is going to come into, because most people are part of the medium pen cult. So let's go ahead and take a look at what Alexis said about light pen. Before we do that though, a message from a new sponsor, Syndicate GG merch shop. If you were wondering about the 500 kg cap I was wearing or the cool Truth Enforcers drip I got on, link in the description down below to reach their merch shop. They have some pretty cool items listed here. And we also did a Thick Fillet collab mouse pad. They sent me a trucker cap, a face the wall t-shirt, and a beanie. If you guys are interested, click the link down below. Let's get back to the video. Okay, so Alexis, who works at the Ministry of Defense, did an interview with Crazy Mr. Pips about a month ago, and he asked them, people are always asking about medium armor. Let's go ahead and hear what he had to say.
From my experience, at least, like the reception has been, as you mentioned, polarizing, right? Like some people really like it, some people say there's not enough. And one thing that I've noticed about the Warbonds lately, especially the last few, is how much of a high demand there is for medium armor pen weapons. You've probably noticed this as well, right? Like every question is it going to be medium pen? Is it going to be medium pen? Like it always goes down to that conversation. Is there a possibility that, you know, in the future, for example, the next Warbond or the next 2 Warbonds, we get like medium pen weapons when it comes to primaries, or is it mostly gonna still stick to those light pens?
I would say we'll do medium armor primaries when it makes sense. Because we have so many variables, and like the Warbonds, as people have cracked already, the Warbonds are one of our storytelling tool as well.
Yeah.
So when the fantasy allows and we can find a good fit for like a medium pen weapon in the Warbond, we will absolutely do that. Nothing is stopping us. It's just we want the majority of weapons to be still closer to the baseline, because we don't want to. We don't have too many anomalies from the baseline. And when we can figure out something very fun and cool to kind of mitigate the power that you get with the medium armor pen.
So basically what he's saying is they will do medium armor pen primaries when it makes sense for the Warbond or for the storytelling or for the item they come out with. And basically he's implying that the light pen weapons are the baseline. That is not that is like the average. Now, I have two things to say about this basically when it comes to the new Halo Warbond. So the Halo Warbond, 3 out of the 4 weapons are just light pen. They're pretty normal. You know, the shotgun kind of just looks like a Punisher clone. The pistol is similar to the Peacemaker. The SMG is similar to a lot of the other SMGs we have, except the SMG and the pistol do have these silencers, which are, I think, are going to be more cosmetic than they do working out for gameplay, because stealth does not work super well in Helldivers. It's like a pure stealth is hard to do, but incorporating stealth into your gameplay is more common and easier to do. But with that being said, though, I do want to say that I do think it would have actually made sense to do medium penetration here. Because in Halo, you know, they're shooting down Covenant elites, which are covered in body armor, but they also have their shields. So the Halo the USMC, I believe, primarily use armor-piercing rounds. And I do think it would have actually made more sense for these items to be armor-piercing. I think what it really comes down to for me is that, you know, when you're playing Halo, you can absolutely headshot any enemy in the game. Well, in Helldivers, the Illuminate are very Halo themed, and the Overseers really look like Covenant elites, but only with one of these weapons can you headshot an Overseer, because Overseer head armor is medium pen. So with 3 out of the 4 Halo weapons, you can't headshot the enemy in the game that looks like a Covenant elite. So this is one of those rare times where, yes, I have joined the cult of medium pen. This is the one time only, but I actually do think it makes sense for a lore reason. And I also think that his answer about making light pen sort of the average and the baseline, that means that they made 3 out of 4 of these weapons to just feel average. Now, one thing I will say is I do feel like they didn't want to take a lot of risks when it comes to this Warbond. They didn't want like any sort of immersion breaking. It doesn't seem like they wanted to add a needler, which would have probably been pretty immersion breaking. But they also didn't add stuff like a plasma grenade. Now, what they did do was add some good details to these weapons. So I'm pulling up some of the weapon renders. Now, with the assault rifle, there's no details in the weapon render, but the assault rifle did have that really cool first-person mode, which we saw from the trailer. But stuff like the drop pod we're getting with this Warbond is just a skin. I do think they could have done a cosmetic here where it actually looks like the ODST drop pods, which is only slightly different, but it would have added a cool little touch. Same with the Pelican. Maybe we could have gotten the Halo Pelican, which is just a minor cosmetic thing, but it would have been really unique to have a different shaped Pelican if you get the Halo Warbond. And same with the Warthog as well. They did just come out with a skin for our FRV, but if they added a 2-seater Warthog with a Halo minigun strapped to the back of it, that could have been a really cool, nice touch, which would have only been slightly different to our FRV in game, but it would have added a bit more lore. Like we got an actual Halo Warthog, which would have been really cool. So now let's just pull up the pistol. A couple people noticed there are a lot of details here. Now there is a little Korean inscription. Now this does say freedom in Korean. Now, I believe in ODST, someone mentioned it in a Reddit thread that the Korean characters on the M6 SOCOM light module says freedom. Normally it reads 7, as that's Bungie's favorite number. So they did add that little Easter egg here, which was really cool. It says freedom in Korean. Normally, I guess Bungie writes the word 7. I'm not exactly quite sure on if Bungie just always adds Korean words onto their guns and stuff like that. Now, we do have a serial number on this pistol, which is 09/22/2009, 10/10/2552. Now, these are 2 dates, September 22nd, 2009. That is the initial release date of ODST. And then October 10th, 2552 was the Battle of October 10th. Aptly named, was a short engagement between the USMC and an unknown force, and this was October 10th, 2552. So we do have those 2 dates being the serial number for this pistol, which is pretty cool. And I also like the drop pod logos, as well as the little Helldiver skull, making it more Helldivers themed. And the Model 6C is Super Earth property. This is pretty dang cool. Next, let's take a look at the shotgun, which this is just the close-up model of the shotgun. I don't see any little details or tidbits in this one. And then we can take a look at the SMG, and it is a 5mm times 23. We've got some, here we go, Helldivers equipment, Morganson Defense, Super Earth, Section 5, District 1284, Part 18005 Force 36. I wonder if there's a little Easter egg with any of these numbers. Let me know in the comments if you find anything. The silencer looks pretty cool, and this looks like a nice little compact SMG. So that is it for today's video. Let me know what you guys think about this Legendary Warbond in the comments down below. Check out the syndicategg.com merch shop in the description if you're interested in any of that stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. I'm out.